This Wednesday, November 20th, I'm Susan Richard. Here's what's happening. Wild scene at a deli in Jamaica, Queens yesterday evening where a robbery ended with a cop and a bystander both shot and the suspect shot dead. Our Glenn Schuck with the story. Governor Murphy to meet with the higher-ups at both Amtrak and NJT today to talk about how best to use that $112 million transit grant from the feds. Lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs score at least one legal victory ahead of his bail hearing Friday. President Biden has approved yet another U.S.-made weapon for use by Ukraine against Russia. And remember Susan Smith, the woman who shocked the nation 30 years ago when she drowned her own kids in a South Carolina lake? Well, she is asking for a get-out-of-jail card. In sports, the Nets and Rangers won, the Islanders lost. Jets have now fired general manager Joe Douglas. AccuWeather clouding up today, the high 59, then rain finally tonight. Winds News Time 8:01. Let's get traffic and transit from Karen Stewart.
We've heard from the TA, 2 and 5 train service is partially suspended in both directions because police activity at 3rd and 149th Street. Use the 1, 4, 6Bs or the D trains instead. Seaford Jamaica Expressway, Long Islanders, northbound by exit 7 for Hempstead Turnpike, has an accident. It's blocking the left lane. The westbound LIE just has slowed down from the Seaford Jamaica Expressway, and the westbound Southern State and eastbound Southern State delayed into the Meadowbrook Parkway. Pretty slow traffic there, actually. You can take Sunrise Highway instead. Let's see what we've got for you going on in the Bronx. Over on the Cross Bronx westbound to the Alexander Hamilton Bridge, we've got delays there due to police activity. It's a police checkpoint in place that they put in during morning rush hour, and we've got delays to go back to the Bruckner interchange. We do. Brooklyn westbound belt at Flatbush Avenue. We've got an accident there. One lane is blocked, and the Staten Island Expressway disabled sanitation truck in the right and center of South Avenue looks to be cleared as well. An hour 15 now in at the George, an hour at the Holland, and 45 inbound at the Lincoln Tunnel. And we're sponsored by Stu Leonard's Farm Fresh Foods. Enjoy big savings at Stu Leonard's Farm Fresh Foods this week. Freshly ground beef chuck is $2.99 a pound. You'll save $1 per pound. Plus Rayo's Jumbo 32-ounce jar premium marinara sauce is just $6.99. That's $1 savings. I'm Karen Stewart. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Cops fatally shoot a robbery suspect in Jamaica, Queens after he shot and wounded an officer and a bystander.
Police responding to reports of multiple armed robberies, one at Hillside Avenue, the other Guy Brewer. And with tips from the public, the NYPD cops Rich Wong and his partner tracked down that suspect on Jamaica Avenue. Chief of Detectives Joe Kenny explaining what happened next.
They ask him to stop. He does not comply. He runs eastbound on Jamaica Avenue away from the officers while producing a firearm. These two officers order him to drop the gun.
That suspect, 57 years old, Gary Worthy of Queens, firing and striking Officer Wong in the leg. Officer Wong firing back, killing Worthy. Now, in the midst of all that gunfire, an innocent bystander, she's 26 years old, she was wounded in the leg, is being treated at Jamaica Hospital. Officer Wong here as well. He should be released at some point later today. Now, as for the suspect, 17 prior arrests. In fact, he was just arrested 6 days ago on a drug charge and released. Glenn Schuck, 1010 wins, 92.3 FM in Queens.
The third victim in Monday's stabbing spree, allegedly by a mentally ill homeless man with a long rap sheet, has now been identified. 67-year-old Chang Wong was stabbed to death while he was fishing in the East River near 30th Street. The suspect, 51-year-old Ramon Rivera, he was arraigned yesterday on 3 counts of first-degree murder.
In a case like this, there are more than just 3 victims. Mayor Adams says there were multiple failures.
3 New Yorkers who were murdered in our city by a person who was betrayed by the healthcare system.
His policy to remove people having mental health episodes from the streets was a start, but the mayor says it's not enough.
This is the result of denying that people who can't take care of themselves as a society, we have to make the determination of giving them the care.
The mayor wants to make it easier for people with severe mental health issues to be court mandated for treatment and care. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM at City Hall.
Governor Murphy to hold a summit of sorts today with leaders from both New Jersey Transit and Amtrak. He's expected to announce the list of priorities for making improvements following that big announcement that New Jersey got a $112 million federal grant. We heard about that last week from Congressman Frank Pallone Jr., who says that money was long overdue.
But I felt from the very beginning that the most important thing was to spend significantly more federal dollars and there's also a state match to upgrade the systems. In most cases, we're operating under systems that go back at least or close to 100 years and hadn't been upgraded at all.
Indeed, it's been a frustrating year with breakdowns and delays and all sorts of problems. There are some concerns that the incoming Trump administration won't prioritize these improvements, hence the meeting today. Ahead of Trump retaking the White House, House Republicans float a bathroom bill that specifically targets the first transgender person elected to Congress. It would bar Delaware's Sarah McBride from using any women's restroom at the Capitol.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, citing his Christian faith, says we're not going to have men in women's bathrooms, but adds,
I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity, and so we can do and believe all those things at the same time.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says the Republicans want to bully a member of Congress.
Are you really focused on housing prices? Apparently not.
That's correspondent Allison Keyes. We're hearing about this on what happens to be Transgender Day of Remembrance. The Human Rights Campaign says at least 36 transgender people have been killed by violence over the last 12 months, although they also say that number is likely higher because of deaths that were either not reported or because victims had been misgendered. President Biden reversing another policy to increase Ukraine's arsenal against Russia. After signing off on allowing Ukraine to use American-made long-range missiles, he's now approved some controversial landmines.
The provision of anti-personnel landmines is the latest move by the outgoing U.S. administration to bolster Ukraine's war effort before Donald Trump returns to the White House. Russia has deployed landmines liberally since the start of the conflict, but international objections to the use of such weapons on the grounds that they pose a risk to civilians had prevented the Biden administration from signing off on them.
That's correspondent David Willis. These weapons are said to be non-persistent. That basically means they poop out after weeks or even just days when their battery charge runs out. The idea with that is to reduce the danger to civilians. Meantime, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv announced that it will be shut down today. That's because of threats of a potentially significant Russian air attack. The embassy also instructed employees to shelter in place, and they recommended the same for any Americans in Ukraine's capital. Cloudy skies, 54 degrees, the humidity 54%, the winds are calm. Later today, clouding up, 59, and then finally, hooray, some rain in the forecast tonight. In fact, AccuWeather says it could be kind of heavy on the overnight. A blow to the prosecution in the P. Diddy case. The rap mogul attended a hearing Tuesday.
Sean Diddy Combs walked into court with the shackles off and he was all smiles. His defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, bringing up a few different things he wants done by the judge, arguing that the government must surrender 19 pages of notes, all taken from Diddy's jail cell, that was photographed and handed over to the government. He says this violates clear attorney-client privilege. These were notes that Diddy had labeled legal and was a place where he jotted down things that he spoke about with his attorneys, like witnesses they wanted to take the stand. The judge siding with the defense, at least for now, saying the government must completely dismiss of these notes and not mention them at all come Friday when his bail hearing is. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.